Okay. Well, thank you all for joining this morning. I appreciate it. I'm excited to dive in. It's our first webinar together, MA Impact Partners and of all trades. And we are excited to talk about the art of running and funding your nonprofit. And so before we dive in, I just wanted to take a second and introduce myself and my partner. I'm going to be your host this morning. So Nora, why don't you go to the next slide and we'll talk about Britt and I for a second. So for those of you that don't know me and Britt and me, I should say, I am the founder of MA Impact Partners. I've been working in the nonprofit sector for 10 years now. I came into my work sideways, as most of us have. And I worked in education and art before opening up my own company, and have raised tens of millions of dollars in the nonprofit sector. And Britt and I started working together. Well, we met a few years ago, but we started working together this year to help revolutionize the way nonprofits are working together. And just the way nonprofits are operating. Britt, why don't you take a second and just introduce yourself to the world?
Oh my goodness, that's a lot of pressure. Thank you, Michelle. Hi, everyone. I am Britt Gage. I'm the founder of a company called Of All Trades. At our core, we are generalists as a service. What does that mean? That means we are operators and builders that help CEOs of small organizations. That could be startups, that can be nonprofits, that can be small businesses, you name it, work better, function better, operate better, often with the low resources of a small team. And so we've been working with Michelle again this year to really take the excellent fundraising operating work that she's been doing and layer on top of this just best practices in operating overall to be able to be more successful with what you have to do really big things.
Yep. Before we go to the next slide, I want to share some fun facts, and I was going to make a slide for this, but Britt and I have a very interesting history together. So Britt and I actually founded our companies working for the same social impact startup. Everyone should go join a giving circle at grapevine.org. We also both have, we started our careers in the arts. Britt is can I blow you up, Britt? Britt is a singer. I am a former dancer.
Go for it.
Britt and I are also, I got a LinkedIn. I knew this was gonna happen. Let me send this webinar. I'm so sorry. Where do I get the webinar link?
I'll give it to you, Michelle, in the
Thank
chat.
you. I just have someone messaging me that wants to come in and didn't click the link on the Can you send me the Zoom, Britt?
There you go.
Thank you. As if I'm Britt and I are both the eldest daughters, and Britt and I are both we both were waitlisted to business school together, even though we were 7 years apart. So we're both here because Wharton put us on wait lists and we didn't get in. So here we are. With that said, we're excited to chat today, and Neville's here. Thank you, Neville, for joining. And let's talk about how we can efficiently work towards our fundraising goals. Okay, so with that said, now that you know who we are and what we're talking about, next slide, please, Nora. Okay, so what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about organizing your donor pipeline to target key supporters. We're going to talk about creating a clear roadmap so that you can identify how you're actually going to reach your fundraising goals. And we're also going to talk about building a toolkit so that you can actually close your gifts and start crushing your fundraising goals. We're all about implementation here and actually doing the work to reach your fundraising goals. Great. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to take time, answer questions, and throw things in the chat. But could you please throw a reaction, something in the chat. If you are a founder, an executive director, a CEO, a president, some sort of nonprofit leader, raise your hand. Yep. Christine, I see one. Who else? Yep. Yep. I see two EDs. And I know we have a third founder on here too. That's right. Okay. And so who else is also, next slide, also fundraising to meet financial goals, also managing staff, also having to worry about strategic planning, also having to throw galas, also having to worry about social media, and also having to keep the lights on? Raise your hand. Yep, all the things. Who here has to wear all 15 hats at the same time? That's right. So I know you all have to do all the things at the same time. I know you have to wear all these hats. I know you have to run your organization, and I know that you have to fund your organization. And Britt and I and our team work with founders like you every day. And our job is to help make your lives easier and work more efficiently so that we can help you crush your fundraising goals and worry about what matters most, which is actually running your organization and serving those that need you most. Next slide, please, Nora. So the thing I want to most focus on today is actually going from this scatter plot of chasing donors, of trying to find new prospects, of getting to galas and worrying about meeting Jeff Bezos and worrying about Mackenzie Scott and Melinda Gates and all of these new prospects that you're meeting and all of the things that you're trying to do. And how do we narrow our focus and get laser focused and worry about the donors that matter most and worry about who's actually going to meet our fundraising goal so that we are saving time, working more efficiently, and working in a way that's actually going to serve you, and that's going to save you time. Great. So how the heck are we going to do that, everybody? What's the secret here? Well, there is no secret, but some things that we have figured out over the years, and just from doing this over and over again with small, scrappy nonprofits that also have their founder and their leader having to raise all of the money that is reliant on running the organization. I've narrowed this down into three main questions that are really going to drive your fundraising and help you create a more effective and efficiently running team. I have just one more joining us. So what are those three main questions? Well, those three questions are: how much money have you raised so far this year versus what do you actually need to raise? What is the number of gifts needed to actually reach your fundraising goal? And who's actually ready for an ask versus who actually needs more cultivation? So why are these things important and what do they actually mean? Well, you need to know how much money you have raised so far in order to keep raising money. I know that sounds so basic and so simple, and it is, but time and time again, we walk into organizations and they have no idea where they are in their fundraising goal and their fundraising process, which tells me that we can't develop a clear strategy and we can't move forward if we don't know where we currently are. So we have to understand how much money we have raised so far this year and how much in order for us to continue raising it. We also have to have a clear understanding of why we're raising this money. What are these funds going to be used for? Organizations often haven't figured out their total operating budget or areas for growth or what we're going to be using these funds for. And that's super important when we're asking for money. We need to be clear and when we're making these asks. So again, we need to have this clear understanding. The number of gifts needed, different strategies for different organizations. I have clients right now that are trying to raise tens of millions of dollars from 3 donors. Yes, 3. I also have clients that are trying to raise millions of dollars from 300 donors and from 3,000 donors. So you need to have a clear, and the strategies for all of them are vastly different. So that's why it's so important that we have a clear understanding of the number of donors that we are going to be fundraising, that we are going to be cultivating. It also, um, it also is going to be a completely different time resource and time allocation of your team when we have a total number of when we have a different number of gifts. Do we need to divide up portfolios for people? Or do we just need to be laser focused on those three and spend our entire year putting all of our time and energy and ensuring that those three donors have the best experience possible and that we close and nail those three gifts? The other thing is we need to understand the readiness for an ask versus needing more cultivation and the different stages of the donor solicitation process. Some donors you are in constant conversation with and you are best friends with, they know who you are. And if you sent them an ask if you had a call with them tomorrow and asked them for money, they would give it to you. We love those people. But there are tons of people in your pipeline also that need more cultivation, need more warming up. You need to engage them more. You need to have more conversations. You need to bring them into the process more and make them feel like more, you need to make them feel like they are part of the organization and that they are truly part of growing this organization with you. So you need to understand how many of those people are there in the pipeline? How much time and effort do you need to put into those people? What are the things you're going to do with those people versus people that are ready for an ask? So it's all about time allocation. It's all about getting organized, and it's all about dividing up your resources. So now that we broke this down into three parts, what do we do with this? I'm going to stop there and I want to just look in the chat. Are there any questions that I can answer right now just based on those three key points? And I'm happy to answer. Happy to take a sip of coffee. Anything? Okay. Happy to answer more questions at the end too. Great. Okay. So now that we've, sorry, Nora, now that we've identified what those three main questions are that we're trying to answer that are really going to help us go from the scatter plot to a laser focus, now the first step is we need to organize our pipeline. So how are we going to organize our pipeline? If we have a pipeline and just a list of random prospects all over the place, what are the first things that we need to do? Well, we have three easy steps for you. So, Nora. The first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that everyone in our pipeline is going to have a clear ask amount associated with their gift. Again, I know this is super, super simple, but it is super essential to having clear data so that we can have a clear understanding of how to build out our strategy so that we can communicate this information clearly and effectively with our teams and our leadership so that we can build out plans that are grounded in data and so that we can effectively move forward in a concise manner. So everyone in your pipeline needs to have an ask amount. It could be, if you have no idea what it is, take a guess. We can have high ask amounts, we can have low ask amounts. So we need to have a number associated with that potential gift so that we can start building this pathway towards our goal. The other thing that's going to be essential is having a stage. I use moves management when we're building our stages. We'll have another webinar on that, but not now. And so we need to know where in their solicitation process are they? Are they cold as ice? You've never met with this person. They have no idea who you are. And you might as well be reaching out to Jeff Bezos. Or are they a board member? They're your best friend. You talk to them every day and you have had 3 meetings with them. You've talked about an ask amount. You've talked about a naming opportunity and you are ready to lay down this ask and you have a clear proposal and you're ready to go. Where in the solicitation process are you? And and where does that person fall? So give yourself a stage. You don't have to necessarily use a moose management stage. You can just use some sort of a process that you're putting together that makes sense to you and your team. Once you have those two, then you have to set yourself up some sort of priority so that you can organize this. I like to use a combination of the ask amount and the stage, and then that spits out some sort of priority. Just because has a very high ask amount, just doesn't mean they're necessarily a high priority if they are cold as ice and we've never talked to them before. Just because someone has a very low ask amount doesn't mean that they're a low priority, because we are engaging them and we know that they actually are going to give this gift this year. That person in my book would have a higher priority. So figure out what system is going to work for you, and then start and build that habit. Clean up your data and start prioritizing your donors in a way that's going to make sense for you and your organization. Now, this is all grand and dandy, but unless you're actually implementing it and seeing it, it's not going to help you. So we have a sample to show you, and happy to share this with anyone who would like it and it makes sense. So great. Nora is going to show us our sample pipeline. So in this beautiful pipeline that I wish was all of our pipeline, we have the name of our constituents. We have the priority that we've identified as either a 1A, a 1, or a 2. We have the stage, which we're using either qualifying, cultivation, a briefing, or an ask. And then we have an ask amount. And then for my pipelines, I always love using a next step. So, and I'm just checking my LinkedIn to make sure there's no other. Great. Okay. So once we have this pipeline, we can clearly see that we have our donors that have which ask amounts, which stages they're in, and which priority. Now, why does this all matter? Well, once we have our data that's all clean and we can see it in this format, one of the most critical things that we can do is set up some sort of pivot table, or if you're working in a CRM, HubSpot, Salesforce, we can build a report that's then going to put this in a dashboard that's going to be easy for you and the team to see. So Nora, if you want to share the pivot table. Now, here is one of what I think is one of the most critical reports when we're talking about building our pipeline and working towards our fundraising goal. What we have here is a pipeline working toward a $5 million fundraising goal. And what we see here is that we have one gift in the Ask Ready stage for $250,000. If we had a goal for 5 million and we haven't raised anything yet, and we have one gift for $250,000, I would say that that's great. We have one gift. However, we're nowhere near ready to reach our fundraising goal. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to look deep into our pipeline, and we need to see what other gifts we have that are potentially ready for ask. Well, none of them are ready for ask because they're all in the briefing and the cultivation stage. And we can see that because we have over 3 million in briefing and 3 million in cultivation. And we have 6 gifts in briefing and 9 gifts in cultivation. So we have over $6 million and 15 gifts sitting in a briefing and a cultivation stage, which means to me, they're not yet ready for an ask. They need more engagement. And so this outline and this picture gives us a really great sense of how much work we have to put in to move these donors. How many people on your team actually have to engage these people? And what are the types of things you actually need to do as an organization to move these gifts forward? For example, if I have 9 donors at $3.2 million, clearly these are all large gifts. I don't know if I would want to do I don't know, some sort of larger event type thing. I would maybe want to do some sort of one-on-one type of cultivation to really deepen that engagement and get them ready to give. So this outline gives you a sense of how many donors, what the level of gift is going to be, and what you need to do and how many resources you need to invest to actually move these donors forward. Okay, this is my favorite thing to talk about, so I'm going deep in here, so I will move forward. But any questions on organizing your pipeline? No. Okay, awesome. Let's talk about now that we've organized our pipeline and we have an idea of how we're going to use that pivot table. Let's talk about building your roadmap to actually reach your fundraising goal. So sorry, Nora, next slide. Again, we have three critical elements for actually building your roadmap. So three critical things I need you to think about when you're actually building a roadmap to your fundraising goal. So we are at $0 for the year. We need to get to 5 million. How the heck are we going to get there? Well, again, I need you to think about how many gifts do we need to close? Who in your pipeline is going to be on your roadmap, on your list of gifts that we need to close? And how much from each donor do we need to actually ask for? How many, who, and how much? Those are the three things that you need to be thinking about. And because we have our organized pipeline, answering these questions now and building your roadmap is going to be super simple because you now can see everyone's potential ask amount, who these people are, and what stages they are in. Okay, so now that we understand how we're going to build a roadmap, what tool can we actually use to build a roadmap? Well, we love a gift chart. And again, super basic, but this truly gives us some sort of bones, and you don't have to use it exactly, but it gives us the bones that we need to actually work towards our fundraising goal in a very focused and clear manner. So this $5 million gift chart, again, because we have a $5 million goal, tells us exactly how many gifts we have to close at each level, the amount of prospects we need, and then how many gifts are in the pipeline. So we then can go back to our pipeline and see what actually lives in our pipeline. And we then can go back into our pipeline and understand where is there potential for increased gifts? Where can we ask people to increase their giving? Where do we actually need to go out and potentially find new donors and new engagement? Where are we going to fall short? And we can then start to uncover where there are going to be holes and gaps so that we can better prepare. Because a wish and a hope is not a strategy, but actually seeing and uncovering these holes is what's going to actually help us work towards filling these holes so that we can actually reach our goals. So this, again, is critical for us to build that map to get us to our goal. Great. Okay. And so last part of this, I want to leave you all with a tool, and thanks, Neville. I will share this all with you in our follow-up. And it's something that I think is critical once we have all of our organized pipeline and our roadmap. What are you going to actually use now to go out and meet with donors? So now that you've organized your pipeline, you know how to prioritize your donors, you know exactly who you need to target, what are you going to do? Well, I suggest always organizing yourself and setting yourself up some sort of meeting briefing so that when you go into meetings with donors, you're super clear, you're super organized. The three things I want you to always have with you when you're going into a meeting with a donor, I always want you to have a clear ask amount. Always, always, always. I cannot tell you how many times I hear from nonprofit leaders or fundraisers, oh, I didn't even have to ask for a gift. Geez. Nothing makes me more upset. While I am so glad that a donor gave you a gift, the fact that you didn't take advantage of making a clear ask just means that you're leaving money on the table. So I always want you to have a clear ask amount for a donor and for any potential funder. Always have a clear ask amount. Even if you're not going to make that ask in that meeting, always have it in your back pocket and an eye on the prize. The other thing I want you to have is a use of funds. I always want you to know how you're going to be using this money and what it's going to be used for. Again, even if you're not going to make the ask, always have it in your back pocket. The other thing you need to have is a next step. When you go into a meeting, always know what your next step is going to be. Are you going to be sending a proposal to this person for an ask? Are you going to be inviting them to the next Zoom briefing or the next site visit at your organization? Are you going to be asking them to be your guest at a dinner that's coming up? Always have a back pocket next step that encourages engagement and allowing them to see the beauty of your organization and your mission. But again, always have in your back pocket so that you are prepared and never caught off guard. And again, I'm happy to share this with everyone so that you have these implementation tools. Okay, so we've now covered the organization of your pipeline, the building of your roadmap to your goal, and then just a very simple tool that you can use to actually implement making a really tailored ask and knocking your ask meeting and securing funds once you organize all of your data and understand your strategy a little bit more. Now what? Next slide. Why is this critical for leaders who are fundraising? Again, it is so critical for all of you who are managing multiple hats and have multiple jobs, who are worrying about reaching your fundraising goals and keeping the lights on. You have a limited amount of time and you have a limited amount of resources. You do not have time to be chasing random donors and random prospects around the city, around wherever you are. You need to have a clear roadmap that is going to tell you exactly where to spend your time and who to spend your time on, how much to ask those people for. And this process makes sure that you are getting clear and organized and using your time in a really efficient way. You are sharing the data that your team members need to understand in order for them to be successful, and that everyone is swimming in the same direction. Okay, for those of you that are ready to get started and don't know where to start, Britt and I have some ideas for you. So here's what we have in store. For those of you that are interested in potentially working with some embedded fundraising partners like Britt and I, some embedded fundraising and operating partners with our teams, we have 3 different models that you could potentially utilize when working with our companies. And so I wanted to share some of those ideas with all of you. So the first way that you could potentially work with our team is what I like to call the good to great model. When we are working with organizations that have a amazing fundraising team, they have their systems and processes, they're working towards their fundraising goal year over year, but they really need someone to come in and help take their team from the amazing work that they're doing and amplify it. Then what we can do is we come in and we can really set a strategic and operational strategy that is going to help them achieve their fundraising goals in a efficient and effective way. How we do that is we come in as your embedded fundraising partners, we assess your pipeline, we identify that untapped potential in your pipeline, and we set up a strategy to help you achieve your fundraising goals by implementing best practices and by implementing systems and processes that's going to develop a tight fundraising machine that's going to eventually work itself year after year. So we develop a pipeline overhaul and we support your pipeline management. We also work as extensions of your team to work with your case for support. redefine your pitches, and work with you as executives to make sure that you have the support that you need in building your pitches, in all of your meeting preparation, and making sure that we are providing you with those priority donors. And so that you are securing those pitch meetings time after time. And we are setting you up with a strategic plan that you can use for year after year. Next slide. We also have clients that have little to no development team and need us to come in and act as a development team. And that looks like everything I just described. But in addition to that, we're coming in and acting as interim leadership. And we are building out essentially the blueprint to bring in a development team. So for example, Britt and I right now, we have a client that has no development team. And so I am acting as an interim development leader, and Britt is running people and culture. And we are, again, making sure that we are developing a strategy and developing and raising money. And at the same time, Britt is hiring and searching for the full-time chief development officer while I am acting as the interim development leadership and securing major gifts to ensure that there is no lapse in fundraising. This is a really efficient way to ensure that organizations are maintaining their fundraising and while we are bringing in a team, and then that handoff from our team to the new team will be super seamless and ensure that there is no lapse in fundraising again. And Britt, I should really ask if you have anything to add to these, but I'm just going for it. No.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. And then what we're really excited about is this new plan that we're piloting and launching today for the sake of this with the launch of this website, this new starter pack, which helps nonprofits that are going from 0 to 1. I often get asked, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? We need help fundraising, but we don't have the funds to fundraise. We don't have the resources and we need the people. But how do we do this? So we've put together a very simple model for those of you with operating budgets under $500,000 and that are trying to scale. We have put together a package that allows us to give you the support that you need and the guidance that you need without necessarily bringing in a team of 5 people to act as your interim team. So what this plan includes is your pipeline organization tools. We'll tell you what you need to do in order to organize your pipeline in a really effective way. You'll also get one-on-one team support from me and the team. You also will get roadmap development help. We'll show you and provide you the tools that you need to actually build out your roadmap and make sure that you have a clear pathway to your goal. And so again, for those of you that are interested, we'll follow up and make sure that you have this webinar in addition to more information about the startup package. And for those that are interested, I would love to hear more from you and just hear what you think about this webinar, what was potentially helpful, what wasn't helpful. I would love to hear your feedback. So here is my and Britt's contact information. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Feel free to book a meeting with us on our Calendlies, and we would just love to hear from you and learn more about just your experience here today and how we may be able to potentially collaborate and support you in your fundraising endeavors. And with that, I would love to just hear what questions there are, Christine, Neville, and how else I may be able to help you while we have the remainder of this time left today. And if not, that's okay too. I know it's early. No? Okay. Well, I appreciate you all coming out this morning. I will reach out to you all to see if there's time to potentially connect. And if there's any questions, feel free to follow up with me directly and I'll be happy to answer them. Last chance for questions. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you. Take care.